Good morning, YouTube. It's your man on Radio page comes to you live on YouTube. Um, Tomorrow will be kind of a somber but yet special day. It's gonna be the 50, actually the 56th anniversary of the death of the late activist and great man Malcolm X. Many of you know, Malcolm X was one of the great leaders of the civil rights movement. He believed in, you know, the old saying, by any means necessary, meaning that the fact is that black people, we should have our rights and we shouldn't have to, bow down to the white establishment. We should fight for it. And we shouldn't, he was a like anti nonviolence. We should fight just like any other person who fights for the right to have freedom. And as you know, the story was that he was murdered doing a meeting many years ago up in New York in Washington Heights at the Arlington Theater. I think it was. If I'm wrong, you can correct me in the um, in the comment section. And anyway, I saw this on the news this morning, and this was confirmed by that letter was sent out. It was written by a former NYPD officer by the name of Raymond Wood. Now, Wood was an officer during the 60s, and he was made to go undercover during the time when, Malcolm was, you know, doing his thing. He's protesting um, you know, uh, against pretty much racism and white supremacy back then, and to try to promote civil rights and the rights of black people. And as we all know, he was murdered, and there were three men that was caught. And he wrote a letter and he sealed it, and he's where he put in instructions where the letter will be read upon his death. Anyway, as you know, Malcolm was killed, as I said, and it was at the as I mentioned before, he was at doing a meeting, a meeting he was having another one of uh his when he was there, just one of his meetings, and he was addressing the people, and he was shot, and and it was a sad day. It was like next to it was maybe about almost 3 years before the death of Dr. King, and it was at the said again the Auburn was it Auburn it was Alberton Theater in Washington Heights, and he was he lived in New York for quite some time, and Auburn Ballroom in Washington Heights, if I'm gonna correct myself here, and he lived there quite some time. And like I said, it was during the time he was giving a meeting and talking to people, and then he was shot. It was a little bit after he came back from Mecca, you know, and there was just panic, and it was just shock that when it happened, and three men were caught. I believe one of the men who was caught died some time ago in prison. They believe he was wrongfully convicted. Now, his cousin Reggie Wood read uh, the letter during a press conference, I believe today, and he was addressing the press. And pretty much he mentioned how pretty much the government has been spying on Malcolm for all these years. Most definitely, this has been said in there's papers, there's papers, there's evidence that the FBI, the NYPD, and even today they still do it. As you know, they spy on people, especially with the paranoid Muslim people and everything else. And Malcolm and Martin Luther King and most other civil rights activists were not immune to being spied by the government. And anyway, they used often they and like often they use police officers, especially who are black, because it's easier for them to go into these meetings and into these demonstrations, because they fit the color. So, and there were so few of them, on the police force back in those days. So it's easy to just take one and recruit them and make them a rat or a patsy and set them up and to go in there and to see what's going on. Most of the time there was nothing really going on. Just people just talking about how they're being mistreated unfairly, not seen as given the same rights as the white people have earned. And it's just that's what truth is. But Malcolm was believing in the rights of the people, especially our people. You know, he might have been a little bit extremist sometimes, but at a point he did give some good points to the fact that we as a people should have the right to be seen as humans, and we have all much as rights as just as many as white people do. Now, people still, like I said again, the image of Malcolm has always been the standing at the window with the assault rifle, saying, and the quote, by any means necessary. And that's what a lot of young people see Malcolm as what it is that image of him in the window with the gun. It's been portrayed in, on T-shirts and in movies and TV shows. We know movie, the Malcolm X. But Malcolm was more than just that. I mean, if you really, research his history about this man, he was born originally Malcolm Little in Omaha, Nebraska, May 19th of 1925. Now he was many children among his mother and father. His father was a preacher, and he was a minister in Nebraska who was trying back then. He was already trying to push civil rights back then in those early days. But the fact was, white people did not want a black man to feel that he was superior to them, you know, or anything else, you know. Um, yes, his father was killed by the Klan, you know, and his mother was put into asylum, and the children were split up, you know. So as a young man, he just grew up and he traveled and went around. He worked different jobs. One point he settled around in the up around about the um north around about the Midwest, and he settled around Detroit, and he got the name Detroit Red. And he was a con man. He was a thief. He did things that, well, a lot of people did that. Try to survive, especially you know little around. Just how it is. It's just enterprise. He was an enterprising young person. What they just said about Malcolm. You know, but then he got arrested and he went to prison. But there he, met a man, and that gentleman introduced him to the Nation of Islam. So while in prison, Malcolm converted, and when he got out, he followed the preachings of Islam and also the preachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Because of those preachings, Malcolm became activists for the rights of Black people and the rights of our freedoms, and he pushed against white supremacy and racism. And he believed that Black people should not have to take a back seat to anybody. That we, who came to this country by force, should take our freedoms and our rights by force. Now, some feel it's a little extreme, but the fact was, in a way, he was right. Now, he didn't believe in the idea of the nonviolent movement that was set by Dr. Martin Luther King, but he didn't. He may not believe it, and he didn't like it, but he felt like the man. That was his choice, that was his belief. But hey, whatever, whatever. Best way to say it. But like I said, Malcolm, he was very strong about his beliefs. He was a man about his faith and about his people, and he really want for Black people to advance. To see us grow, not see us just struggle and try to be at the feet of the white people, to stand on our own 2 feet, to be the great people that we are, and to realize the history we have, how much we contributed to this country. And wasn't for us, this wouldn't be much for America, you know. And like I said, he was at odds with Dr. King's and his ideology, but the fact was that both these men were both great men in their own side. It kind of like, as you know, I'm a comic book fan, and two of my favorite heroes are Batman and Superman. they're two sides of the same coin. Superman is this great, powerful hero. He's an alien from another planet, but he wants to be so much of a human. While Batman is this guy who's human, but he wants to be more than human. That's how I see it. I see, in a way, yes, I see Dr. King more like Superman. I see Malcolm as close to Batman. Well, but we all know J. Edgar Hoover. He saw both Dr. King and Malcolm X as the enemies towards white America, or pretty much white America, not just America, white America. So they spied on both of them, watched them, recorded. He saw the reason, and mostly I think he saw Malcolm of a threat because the idea of communism. Why that picture didn't come? I should check this thing for it. I hate that it happens, but let's skip that one. But like I said, you know, things happen sometimes. Sometimes, things happen within a family. There was a division between Malcolm and Elijah Muhammad. Stories going around that Elijah was doing things that wasn't very um, of Muslim or Islam about the religion. So, and also Malcolm made comments as around the time about it was around the time of the death of JFK, and those comments did not bode well to the nation. So, he took a break and he left and he went to the Middle East and he went to travel a while and he went to Mecca. And while there, he had an experience, and he realized something that all men are the same, no matter what color they are. And from that time in Mecca, it kind of changed him a bit, and it changed his ideology, what his thing, his changed his extremist idea, what extremist ideologies. And I think he came back a new person, you know. And he preached more of an idea of not just, you know, equality, not just for the black people, but equality for all people, for all creeds and and everybody, even letting white people in a little bit, give them a little, a little, fair shake, but not too much, you know. But like I said, tomorrow is going to be the day of his murder. But let's not reflect on his murder, his death. Let's remember who the man he was. You know, and the stuff that like his story of his life. He was good friends with Alex Haley. How he wrote his biography. If you could find it in the library, or you can just, you know, you get time, just you know, uh, order it through Amazon, something like that. Read a book. It's probably a great book. I don't read books much like I used to. I need to get back to more reading. It's been too much on time on the internet. You know, and also, Spike Lee did the movie back in the 1990s about the Malcolm X starring Denzel Washington. I love that movie. I love that. I remember that part when they're marching down the street when after one of the brothers got beat up and went to the hospital, and it was just I remember that one part of the car played by Peter Boyle saying like one man shouldn't have that much power, and he did have that power because that was that he had strength, and that frightened people. The man had that much strength and supported the people, And this is the movie recently that Regina King executive produced and directed, One Night in Miami, which is with like which was like um some of a story of a fictional story of Malcolm X, Sam Cooke, Jim Brown, Dr. Marth, and I'm sorry, and Muhammad Ali coming together. And these are four great men, you know, and how they were trying to try to unite of kind of a united front, and it's a great story. I haven't seen the movie yet, but I heard so much about it. It's a pretty good movie, you know. And his daughters are really been starch about this. They're very hearing about the letter, and they're like I said, one of his daughters had a quote saying, let me see whose quote is right here, and wait a minute, I think I can find it. Uh, oh, I'm looking it on the internet right now. It'll just take me some time because I saw the quote earlier. You know, like I said, any evidence that proves greater insight into the truth behind the terrible tragedy should be thoroughly investigated. You know, and this is by one of his daughters. And what? it's true. This is something that needs to be investigated because the fact is, murder has no statute of limitation. There's no. It's one of the most extremist crimes in society, and it should be investigated. And these women need justice for their father. Yeah. And he was also a great husband. Betty Sabaz, Dr. Betty Sabaz, she loves her husband. She supported. It's been a long time since her passing. I know she's with them in a better place. You know, and like I said, he was a great father. Being he would have, he loved his daughters. I think he would be proud of them today. There's some setbacks here and there, but I think he'd still be proud of his daughters. And also, he was good friends with some great people, such as Muhammad Ali and many other people that he met along his way. But like I said, Malcolm X was a great man. Now, like any great man, he had his vices, he has his issues. He was not perfect. No one's ever perfect, no matter what. No one can be perfect. No human can ever be perfect, no matter what they can be. We're always going to have mistakes. We'll all be fallible. But this man did quite so much for our people, and he was cut so short in a short time, and we wonder what more he could have done if given the opportunity. So anyway, tomorrow let's all remember Doctor. I'm sorry, let me slip. Let's all remember Brother Malcolm X for the man he was and the man he could have been if given the chance. Let's seek justice for the Brother Malcolm. It's your man, Honorary George Page. Don't like, subscribe. I'm out.